I'm Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Angela.
We are the Ink Mages. Join us as we discuss all things fantasy, world building, storycraft, myths and legends, and of course, our own imaginative stories.
Hello and welcome to the Ink Mages podcast. We're so glad you've joined us today. We have an editor's corner episode we are doing. Yes, so this is going to be us diving into the nuts and bolts of show, not tell. If you are a writer and been writing for a bit or even not too long, I'm sure you have already heard the critical show, don't tell. So we are going to dive in to really what that looks like with examples so you can better equip yourself when you are working on your manuscript.
Yes, I think this is really important because I remember when I first started out writing, people would say show, note, tell, and they try to explain it to me. And for whatever reason, my brain would just it would not want to get what show, not tell meant. And this, I hope, will really help make it clear. And it is something that I always talk about once your brain kind of reprograms, kind of adjusts, is really easy to pay attention to when you write. And so this is exciting. I love our editor's corners because I feel like it really helps a lot of our listeners and will really just equip you to feel even more confident with the manuscript that you're working on.
Exactly. So let's start by defining what is show, don't tell. It means using vivid details, actions, and sensory descriptions to let the reader experience a scene rather than simply stating facts or emotions. We don't want to tell emotions, we want to show emotions. That is key. So, showing paints a picture the reader can see in their mind's eye. I always say if I haven't painted a picture in your mind, I haven't done my job as a writer. By showing the actions, relationships, and feelings instead of just telling the reader he was sad, what happened, or what they're feeling, the writing comes off deeper and more meaningful when we show. This creates a much more emotional connection and bring readers closer to you or the main character. That is the goal.
Yes. I think that one of my things is Stephanie continues on is just like when you think of writing, I've had to adjust my brain to thinking when you're observing someone even and they're not using their words, but you can tell that they're sad. Why?
Yeah.
How is it that you can tell? What are those things?
And there are a lot of simple ones. Just be observant around the people around you, your kids, your spouse, friends. What is it that is conveying sadness? Because most people aren't going to just come out and say, I feel sad.
Yes.
They're going to have their head kind of droop. Their shoulders are rolled. They just kind of putz around.
Mm-hmm.
If you're walking to school with someone as a kid, why are they kicking the rock as they're walking down the sidewalk? There's all these little things that hint at feelings and emotion. And so you don't tell it. You just you pick an action and this will convey the sadness or convey the depression.
Yes.
So how to show, not tell? Ask questions. Is your character cold? Do not tell me. Show me. This is how you would show if your character is cold. She pulls her collar up. She tightens her scarf. She shoves her hands deep into her pockets. She turns her face away from the biting cold. So that's just a list.
We didn't have to say she was cold. We actually see it.
Yep. Yep. Your readers are smart. They do not need to be told.
Yes. Yeah.
What a character is feeling if you just give one line about a simple, she pulled her collar up, turned her face away from the biting cold.
Yes.
We've done that before when we're cold, so we know, we get it. Okay, is your character tired? Show it. This is how you could show. He can yawn, he can groan, he can stretch, His eyes can look puffy, his shoulders could slump. Another character might say, didn't you sleep last night? You look shot.
Yes, dialogue is a great way to show. Yes.
And I feel like dialogue it engages the readers. So if you can get things across that way, always a plus. Okay, now I've got a fun list of examples of that are show and not tell. So let's pick an action like running. This would be telling. He ran quickly to catch the bus. This is how you'd show. His legs burned as he sprinted, his breath ragged, the bus's doors inching shut ahead of him.
So much better. Now, even just like as she's reading that, instead of just seeing someone jetting, running ahead, I
Yeah.
this whole visual of the scene playing in my head, like if I was watching a movie or observing
Yes.
in real life.
Yeah. You want to create something that's more engaging. You pick a stronger verb, which we're going to get into a little bit later, but like he ran quickly.
Yeah.
He pumped his legs. His legs burned as he sprinted. Like those create a more emotional response, a stronger visual in our mind because we picked a stronger verb than just
Yes.
he ran quickly.
Yeah. It doesn't actually tell us very much. It
No,
just means that it's happening fast, but
it told us. It just told
yeah.
us he ran
Yeah.
quickly. Like
Yeah.
it's not what you want. It doesn't create an emotional response from readers. Okay. Next, mood. So let's pick this as an example, tension. So telling the room was tense. Blah.
Yeah.
I
What
feel
about it was
nothing.
tense?
What?
How do we
Exactly.
know? Yeah.
So you've told us the room is tense, but how? Show
Yeah.
us. Okay, this is showing. Conversations faltered, and a heavy silence pressed against the walls. Glances darted between shifting feet.
Yes. Yes.
Ooh, now I'm like, what did somebody just say?
Yeah. We're given clues even. And I think
Yes.
with showing, you don't necessarily have to straight out, explain everything, but giving the clues, I know for me, I always go, they entered into an eerie room. Well, why was it eerie? Imagine yourself walking into a room. Was it dark? Why were you getting that feeling? And one of the things that I have made a habit of, I'm using AI as a tool, not as my writer, but I would say, there's times where I'm showing or I'm using, I'm not being able to conjure in my mind a description or a showing of an action, like a facial expression. And I'm like, how would I describe their face? Like if they were like cocking their mouth to the side or they were showing disappointment. Like, how do I explain disappointment? How can I show that without just saying they were disappointed? But I'm running dry in my imagination. I will go to AI or you can go to Google, but AI works better. Just trust me. Just going, can you give me some suggestions on how to show the action of disappointment?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it jogs a bunch of ideas in your brain, and now you can go and write your own version of showing the disappointed action or what was creating the assumption in the character who saw disappointment on another character's face.
Yeah.
How can we show that?
Yeah, because each character might have a different way, a different tell
Yeah.
that conveys their sadness, their anger, their frustration. And it's true. In the writing process, you're using so much of your brain power that at
Yeah.
times you're just like, I can't think of an
Yes.
action that conveys this. And so yeah, doing that little search might be like, oh, that's right. My character always does this when they're angry.
Yes.
And you put that in there. And maybe you just needed that little reminder, that little nudge. So
Yes.
great tip. Okay, here is another example of show, not tell for character description. Telling, he was an impatient person. I'm like, great. Can I see it? This is how you'd show. His fingers drummed against the counter, his foot tapping in sync, eyes flicking to the clock every few seconds.
And now we just got character development
We
too,
did.
which we didn't get with the previous
No.
sentence. Now we are actually seeing what this character in action is like.
Yep. So you want to create that visual interest for the reader. If you just tell everything, they're going to tune out and they're going to be like, this is so bland.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm reading a report.
Yes.
Instead of going on a journey with these characters and experiencing what they're experiencing.
Yes. It's really going to create connection in every way with your readers into your story, with the characters, the action, the presence. of the story, everything comes way more alive and far more vivid when you are showing.
Yep. And your readers will know. They'll feel like they'll say, I felt like I was there.
Yeah.
I felt like I was there alongside the character the whole time
Mm-hmm.
because you're not telling. Everything is an experience and not just being told.
Yes.
So, we're going to switch to something a little more in depth, but it's still part of the show don't tell because we've now shown you examples of character description, mood, and action to show. But here's another thing you may not have thought about, and it's adverbs.
Yeah.
Okay? So your adverbs are going to be those helping words that are usually tacked on to a verb that end in ly.
Yes.
But here's the thing with adverbs, they tell. They do not show. And I know it might have been acceptable decades ago to pump your prose with adverbs, but now it is wordy, it is telling, and it just ends up getting the story more convoluted than you needed. The actions just come across easier and quicker, and the pacing when you just give exactly what the character is doing with a strong verb.
Yes. And I like to use this illustration because just because it was acceptable writing style 30, 40, 50 years ago doesn't give us permission to keep using it. It's the same comparison as watching an old time 40s movie like a Gene Kelly movie, Singing in the Rain. There were more theatrical, there was less depth of character in those movies. So you go back, you pick up a DVD, or you go on your television, you watch
Prime,
an older
stream it.
movie. Yeah, you stream it. Thank you. That and you don't have the expectation of those movies being like movies are now. Like, you don't even watch the original Star Wars and expect them to be like movies are made now. That was a movie made in 1978, the first Star Wars, and you don't expect those movies to be like they are now. But if you're going to go to the movie theater now and see a brand new movie, you don't expect it to look like a Gene Kelly movie. You know that things have changed, and readers do have an expectation now to really be brought into your story where they are having visuals like they are watching a movie, they are immersed in your
Yes.
world. And so, be careful when you, as a writer, you're like, well, I read some J.R.R. Tolkien and he had adverbs all over the place. That's great. It was okay for him to write that way. But now it's actually culture's changed,
Yeah.
and there's a different expectation of the readers for you to really immerse them in another level.
Yes. So the reason we don't want to use adverbs is because they often summarize your emotions or actions instead of showing them. Instead of saying, she spoke softly, you could write, her voice barely rose above a whisper.
Yeah.
Kind of invites you into that space a little better. Now, also pay attention, I did use an adverb. I said barely. That
Yeah.
ends in ly. But here, barely is showing how quiet her voice is. It's making it more aversive. It painted more of a picture than just she spoke softly.
Yeah. There was a huge difference between the two uses.
And so I encourage you as a writer, if you could search your ly words and try to take out that adverb and pick a stronger verb that gets the adverb across. Like we did in the previous example, if he ran quickly to the bus stop, we said his legs like burned. We said he
Yeah.
pumped his legs. Pumped is a much stronger verb than he ran quickly. Actually, look, I think that's my example.
Yeah.
I just looked down, I'm like, that is my
Right on
example.
track.
A powerful verb can do more than an adverb ever could. He ran quickly is far less impactful than he sprinted. He pumped his legs. Overuse leads to weak writing. I also call it lazy writing.
Mm.
Which, okay, if you're doing your first draft and you just need to get things out, put that adverb in, knowing you will come back and revise it with a stronger verb. But if every action is padded with an adverb, he laughed loudly versus His laughter echoed through the room. It can make the writing feel repetitive or lazy.
Yeah.
Which we don't want.
Yeah.
You don't want the readers to think, wow, every time he nods, he nodded thoughtfully. He nodded weakly. I was like, what does that even mean?
Yeah. And again, no visual or no
Right?
idea. There's no characterization. These are all opportunities for you to give us an idea of what that character is like.
Yes.
And if you miss that opportunity, like she says, it's lazy because you're missing an opportunity to actually just explode your characters onto the page. One of the very first things I ever heard as advice when I first started writing was make your characters memorable so that the reader either can't stop reading because they're so captured by the character or they go to bed thinking about them. You're not going to do that if you're using adverbs or passive voice or if you are telling instead of showing.
So I'd like to say you're going to probably cut 90 to 95% of your adverbs. That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
Get them out.
Yeah.
Most cases, I'm going to say 9 out of 10, you don't need it.
Yeah.
You really don't. All right. So here's the next stage in show, don't tell. And you may not have thought of this one either. And this is introductory clauses to a sentence. All right. We're going to really
I'm guilty of this one. I'm really working on this one.
We are going to get into some sentence structure here. But you want to cut your intro clauses because they tell, just like adverbs do. So what is an introductory clause, Jared? This is usually, it's starting a sentence with an ing verb. Knowing he was supposed to be somewhere at 10 o'clock, he quickly threw on his clothes. I don't need to know. I mean, you just told me.
Yeah.
Knowing he needed to be somewhere, it'd be better if like, oh my God, I'm late.
Yes. Dialogue.
Internal dialogue. I can't believe I overslept.
Yeah.
He pulled on his clothes. He stomped in his pants. He's hopping on his foot as he tries to put on one pair, his shoe.
Yeah.
Much more descriptive. So that's why we cut them.
Yeah.
All right. And they slow down your story and they tell versus show what is happening. Remove as many of them as you can to keep the story moving forward with a good pace. You'll get to a place where like your brain kind of feels like it's catching up. As an editor, that's what I feel like when somebody starts a sentence with this, knowing he needed to be somewhere at 10 o'clock. I'm like, where's the action?
Yeah.
Get me to what's happening. So it's almost like I'm playing catch up to get to the important detail. And the important detail is he threw on his clothes and raced out the door. That's the action, not the telling me he needed to be somewhere. And it's like knowing he needed to be somewhere, like we're in his head. Don't tell me what he already knows.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like the internal thought of I'm going to be late. And then the action, I think sometimes we underestimate the power of dialogue and internal thoughts.
Yes.
I don't know how many times I've read a manuscript. I'm like, oh man, internal thought right here. This would just perfect to let us be in the POV, the character's head, and without having to tell. And now we're in it with them.
Yep. That's a great way to like show their personality, their character. If they have a oh shoot, if they have an oh darn phrase that's, characteristic just to them, it's great to throw that in. Like, oh now we really feel his thoughts and like, I'm panicking because of something with his internal expression. All right. So to reiterate, intro clauses, they tell that something happened as the character does something else. It's better to keep both actions in the scene and have it unfold as a straight subject, predicate sentence. What is that? It's a basic noun verb format. So your noun is your subject, followed by the verb, which is the action. Here are some examples. Simple examples. The dog barked. The subject is the dog. What did he do? The action, predicate, he barked. All right, she runs. Subject is she, predicate is runs. So you could start training yourself instead of saying knowing he was running he was running late, just say he threw on his clothes. He, subject, threw, verb. We're getting right to the action. We're cutting all that superfluous gerund intro clause that's not necessary, and it slows your pacing. Things are going to be so much more punchy if you are always leading, as much as you can, leading with an action, subject doing the action. Yep. So now I've got some fun examples of how to cut your intro clauses. So here is a sentence that starts with an intro clause. With his eyes fixated on the blade, he spun the dagger in his hands. Now, this is a simple fix. Just switch it around. Start with the action. He spun the dagger in his hands with his eyes fixated on the blade. It reads more naturally in our brain, and the reader is not feeling like they have to do that catch-up thing that I was talking about, where like, da, 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 da. Oh, important detail. Start with the important visual.
And you don't want your readers to have to work to understand what you're saying.
Yes. And I'm telling you, as an editor, I have seen some of the longest intro clauses where it's like it goes on for a full line and then some.
Yes.
And then it like ends with like, he sprinted. It's like, could we have started with that?
It's kind of like when you're reading a dialogue and you read the whole dialogue, and then at the end of the sentence, the dialogue tag tells us the whole time he was like saying it really tense through his teeth.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, now I've got to reread that dialogue again because I didn't realize it was tense through his teeth while I was reading it. And so my brain totally read it differently. And now I've just made my reader have to work to read it, and it didn't just flow. And so this is another example of that, where you're causing your reader to have to work. They don't get the understanding until they get the prize at the end. And we're just making it to where it's just clearly they can just go right into the flow of your writing.
Yep. This is where your pacing is just going to be awesome.
Yeah.
If you minimize and delete as much of these as you can. People will just feel like I'm right there in the action. It's flowing. Like they're going to feel breathless, like they're gasping with the character because they're not feeling like they have to, oh, wait, let's back up. What just happened?
Yeah. Wait. Yes.
Now, yeah. And sometimes as an editor, I have seen paragraphs where like every sentence started with this intro clause. I'm like, it's like I can't make sense what's going on. I have to play catch up. So don't want that. All right, here's another example. Starting with an intro clause. Detecting James's quick, shallow breathing, he reached past Henry and found the boy's hand, giving it a squeeze. So also notice that in that intro clause, you're telling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a filter too. Detecting James's quick, shallow breathing, I would ask, how?
Yes.
How is he detecting James's quick, shallow breathing? So this is how I would rewrite this. James' quick, shallow breaths heated Emmett's neck. Now we experience the shallow breath. It's impacting the character. It's heating his neck. All right, so James's quick, shallow breaths heated Emmett's neck. He reached past Henry and found the boy's hand, giving it a squeeze.
Wow.
So now it flows. It flows better. We have clear actions with the subject followed by the verb. And so you can split up your sentence. See how the first sentence is all one long thing. It's okay to shorten up your sentences. It'll be easier for readers to follow the actions that way. So that's what I did. I chopped it into 2. So now the actions are clearer.
Yes. And this is your writing this way is your opportunity to activate the 5 senses in your reader.
That.
So all of your telling and going into showing now activates the reader's ability to smell, see, touch, feel, hear. I think some of mine is like the sound was loud, or the thunder was loud. Like, well, what did it actually sound? Like, what did it do? Did it shake the windows? And then giving me, especially in a lot of books, that nostalgic touch, when writers can really be good at being honest and showing the 5 senses to their readers, now all of a sudden the readers are attached in a whole nother way because they're automatically smelling something without you telling them to, or tasting something, or relating to something, or feeling something, because you showed them.
Yes. It's so important. So important to show, and it's not difficult. These are just some easy little fixes and reminders as you're doing your revision. And eventually it'll become like second nature. As you continue writing, you're just automatically going to not use that adverb that tells, and you're going to pick a stronger verb. You're not going to use that interclause. You're going to go right into the action of what your subject is doing.
Yes.
So I definitely hope these examples have helped. I hope you feel more equipped to launch into your manuscript and polish it up and just make it really shine.
And I would say if this episode helped you, but now you have more questions,
Yeah.
go back. We have a lot of Editor Corners episodes. We do these episodes on purpose because we want you to freely be able to write. Sometimes you don't know these things until someone tells you. Sometimes you don't know these things until you've completed a whole manuscript, you've submitted it to an editor, and the editor goes, we need to go back and rewrite huge portions of this because you're showing me this whole story and not telling me. And we have other episodes that talk about being in the action at the starting of a chapter and leaving a hooky ending. Like, all of these things are important in developing your story. So go back, find some of our Editor's Corners episodes, make sure that you're fully equipped. And if you have any questions, or you're a writer and you're wondering how things are working for your manuscript and you're not quite understanding, it hasn't unlocked for you yet, how to write a certain way, let us know in the comments. We might just do an Editor's Corner on it. And we love our listeners. We love being able to have these episodes for you. Please leave us a like. Please leave us a comment. And I will let you know we are moving towards our 100th subscriber. And with that means that there might be some fun giveaways coming your way soon. So be sure to subscribe and support us. And we can't wait to see you next time.